Okay, so are you ready to dive into this review?
Definitely not.
Because we are talking about Inside Out
All
too.
right.
And this review is very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see if it lives up to the hype.
Yeah. Well, and especially with sequels.
Right.
It's like, can they recapture the magic of the original?
Exactly. And Inside Out was such a phenomenon.
It really was.
Like, it wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural event.
Yeah. It changed how we talk about our emotions.
Right.
Like, everybody knows joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust now.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes this review stand out.
What's that?
They actually call Inside Out 2 necessary.
Oh, wow.
Like, not just good.
Yeah.
Not just, oh yeah, the sequel's fun.
Right.
They say it's necessary.
Interesting. And what do you think it is about this review that pushed them past that usual sequel skepticism? Because, I mean, we've all been burned before, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, how many times have we gone into a sequel hoping for the best and been let down?
Too many times to count.
Exactly.
But this review seems to suggest that Inside Out 2 is different.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And one of the things that really jumped out at me was how much they focus on the sequel's relevance to adults.
Really?
Yeah, they seem to be saying that Inside Out 2 goes beyond those simple childhood experiences that we saw in the first film.
Okay.
And it delves into like the more nuanced emotions of being a grown-up.
And that's interesting,
Right.
because when you say nuanced emotions, what exactly do you mean?
Well, they mention new emotions that join Riley's control center.
Okay.
Like anxiety,
Yeah.
embarrassment.
Right.
And these are feelings that many adults, I mean, we grapple with these every day.
Every single day.
Right. So it makes you wonder if the sequel is kind of tapping into that feeling of adulting is hard.
I see what you're saying. It's like taking those core concepts from the original Inside Out, those relatable emotions we all experience as kids, and saying, okay, but it doesn't get any easier as you get older.
Exactly.
In fact, it gets more complicated. There's more nuance. There's more to unpack.
And those new emotions they bring up, anxiety, embarrassment, those really speak to the challenges of growing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Social navigation,
Yeah.
self-discovery, acceptance.
Yeah.
These are all things that we deal with even more as we get older.
Right. And it's like Inside Out laid the groundwork.
Yes.
And now the sequel is exploring a whole new level of emotional depth. That reflects how our inner landscapes evolve as we age.
It's like Inside Out grew up along with its audience.
And they actually mention a spoiler-filled follow-up review.
Oh, interesting.
So they're hinting that there's even more complexity than meets the eye.
Wow. So they're really suggesting that this movie is more than just a lighthearted adventure.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, get ready to think about your emotions in a whole new way.
I like it.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, the review almost insists that you watch the original Inside Out before seeing the sequel.
Oh, okay.
Which, on one hand, that might just seem like a play for a rewatch.
Sure.
But I am curious, do you think the sequel necessitates a refresher?
That's a good question. I mean, there's always something magical about revisiting a beloved film, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like reconnecting with those core relationships and storylines.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do wonder if Inside Out 2 builds upon its predecessor so intricately that it assumes a certain level of familiarity with the characters' dynamics.
That's a good point.
Like we're rejoining old friends after years apart.
Right.
Wouldn't it be strange to dive into today's drama without catching up on their individual journeys first?
It's true. You don't want to just jump into the middle of the story.
Exactly.
So it makes you wonder, does Inside Out 2 effectively bridge that gap for those who haven't revisited Riley and her emotions in a while?
Yeah. Or could it potentially leave them feeling lost?
Right.
It's a delicate balance to strike, for sure.
It really is.
You want to honor the original while offering a fresh experience.
And it feels like a lot is riding on how these new emotions are introduced and how they're integrated into that existing dynamic.
For sure. And speaking of new additions, they do mention a few more residents joining Riley's headquarters, but they're kind of vague on the details.
They mention anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and even boredom joining the crew.
A regular full house up there.
Right. And they seem particularly amused by the shortened names the film uses for envy and boredom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Eenie and Eerie.
You. I mean, I get streamlining for younger audiences.
Yeah.
But those are interesting choices.
What do you make of Eenie and E?
Well, on the one hand, I can see how simplifying complex emotions like envy and boredom into catchy, kid-friendly nicknames
Right.
could be Pixar's way of making them less intimidating, especially for younger viewers.
Because those are some heavy hitters,
They really are.
even for adults.
Exactly. But on the other hand, there's always that risk.
Yep.
That oversimplification could undermine the nuance and depth of these feelings.
I see what you mean. It's a fine line to walk
It really is.
between making it accessible for kids, but not diminishing how significant these emotions really are.
Exactly.
So this makes me even more curious about how these new emotions will interact with the original five.
Right.
Will their dynamic shift?
But we see new alliances form within Riley's headquarters.
Ooh.
The possibilities are endless.
I know. And you know what else this review got me thinking about?
What's that?
The post-credit scene.
Oh, there's a post-credit scene.
Yeah, they make sure to mention it,
Of course they do.
calling it a must-see.
Well, you know me, I'm always down for a good post-credit scene.
Who isn't?
It's like a little reward for sticking around.
Right. It's like a little wink from the filmmaker.
Exactly.
Like, you're in on a secret.
And it's fun to see how they use those little moments to expand the story.
Exactly. And it just makes me wonder about the director change that this review almost glossed over.
Oh, yeah. They did mention that Inside Out 2 has a different director.
They did.
Interesting. Does that make you nervous at all?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Because the original Inside Out had such a strong, distinct vision.
It really did.
So a new director brings the potential for fresh perspectives and exciting new ideas.
For sure.
But it also comes with the challenge of staying true to the heart of what made the original so special.
It's a tough balancing act.
It really is.
You want to see the world expand and evolve,
Right.
but not at the expense of what made you fall in love with it in the first place.
Exactly.
So how do you measure success with a sequel like this?
Right. Is it about replicating the magic of the original, or is it about carving its own unique path within that established world?
That's the million-dollar question.
I think it is.
And I have a feeling it's one that the filmmakers themselves probably grappled with.
I bet they did.
A lot to think about.
There is a lot to think about, and we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
But I feel like this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, there's always more to uncover. There's always more to uncover, right? And it speaks to a bigger point about sequels, doesn't it?
What's that?
It's not just about giving audiences more of what they loved.
Right.
It's about exploring growth and change.
Uh-huh.
Just like Riley herself is growing and changing Inside Out 2.
Okay.
So too must the franchise.
That's such a good point. It's not just Riley's journey that's evolving. It's ours as the audience, too.
Exactly.
We've had 9 years since the first film came out.
9 years to sit with the concepts that were introduced in Inside Out.
Right. To see how those emotions play out in our own lives.
Precisely.
Mm.
And that brings us back to the reviewer's use of the word necessary.
Okay.
Maybe this sequel isn't just about revisiting familiar characters and themes, but about reflecting the emotional journeys we've been on since the first film.
That's such an interesting way to look at it. Like, the filmmakers are meeting us halfway,
Right.
acknowledging that our inner landscapes have shifted and evolved,
Yeah.
just like Riley's.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the power of the original Inside Out that it sparked such lasting conversations about our emotional lives.
It really did. It gave us permission to talk about our emotions.
Yeah.
Even the messy ones.
The not so fun ones.
Right. In a way that felt safe and relatable.
Totally.
And now with Inside Out 2, it seems like we're invited to dive even deeper.
Okay.
To explore those complexities with more maturity and nuance.
I'm particularly curious to see how the introduction of these new emotions,
Yeah.
especially in Insactive, anxiety will impact the already existing dynamic between joy and sadness.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because in the first film, there was this clear tension between those two,
Yeah.
with joy constantly trying to suppress or control sadness.
It's so true, and it's almost like a microcosm of how a lot of us are raised.
Oh, totally.
To-
Just put on a happy face.
Yeah, look on the bright side.
Cheer up.
Right, as if sadness is something to be avoided at all costs.
Exactly. So do you think Inside Out 2 will challenge that notion further?
I hope so, or at least offer a different perspective.
Yeah.
On how joy and sadness can coexist because they're both important, right?
We are. We need both.
Right. We can't just have one or the other.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Recognizing that both joy and sadness are essential for navigating the ups and downs of life.
And that would be a powerful message for younger viewers
Especially
who might still be grappling with those ideas.
Absolutely.
Mm.
But it's not just about joy and sadness.
Right.
We also have envy.
Right, represented by little Eenie.
Little Eenie.
Yeah.
A concept that's often viewed as negative or taboo.
Yeah, especially for kids.
Right. Like you shouldn't be envious.
Exactly.
You should be happy for other people.
So I'm really curious to see how Inside Out 2 navigates that.
Well, this is where I think Pixar's storytelling really shines. Because they have this incredible ability to take complex, often uncomfortable emotions
Mm-hmm.
and portray them in a way that's both relatable and insightful.
Right. And we saw that with Sadness in the original.
So exactly.
Sadness wasn't the villain. She was just a vital part of what made Riley human.
A vital part of a complete emotional system.
Exactly. So do you think they can achieve that same level of nuance?
That's a tall order.
It is a tall order.
But I have faith
Okay.
in their ability to create a nuanced portrayal of any.
Maybe they'll explore the root of envy,
Yeah.
show how it can stem from insecurity or a desire for connection rather than just being a mean green monster.
Right. Like envy doesn't just exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
It comes from somewhere.
It does. So instead of shying away from these more challenging emotions, it seems like Inside Out 2 is leaning into them.
Okay.
Recognizing that they're all part of a rich and complex inner world.
And that by understanding them,
Yeah.
we can better understand ourselves.
I love that takeaway. It's not about judging our emotions, but about approaching them with curiosity and compassion.
Absolutely. And I think that's a message that transcends age.
It really does.
Whether you're a child just beginning to navigate your emotions,
Or an adult who's been grappling with them for years.
there's something incredibly powerful about that message of self-acceptance.
There really is. Okay, so we've talked about the emotional depth, the director change, even the post-credit scene. But what about the actual story?
Right. What hints does this review give us about the plot of Inside Out 2?
Without spoiling all the fun.
Without giving it all away. Well, they're pretty careful not to reveal too much,
Okay.
which I appreciate.
Which I do too.
But they do hint at a storyline that revolves around Riley's transition into adolescence.
Okay.
They specifically mention the challenges of growing up, navigating social dynamics, and discovering one's identity.
So it sounds like the stakes are even higher this time around.
It seems that way.
We're not dealing with just everyday childhood woes anymore.
Right.
We're dealing with the bigger, more complex questions that come with adolescence.
Exactly. And with the introduction of emotions like anxiety, envy, and embarrassment,
Yeah.
it seems like Inside Out 2 is tackling those questions head on.
It does. And it makes you wonder how those themes will manifest visually.
Oh, that's interesting. Because one of the most compelling aspects of the original Inside Out was its ability to take these abstract concepts,
Right.
like emotions and memories, and turn them into tangible, relatable characters and settings.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait to see how they've expanded upon that visual language in the sequel.
Me too. I mean, they made us root for sadness
I know.
and empathize with anger.
So how do you visually represent something like boredom?
Right.
I don't know.
What does that look like?
Will Gooey be like this sluggish character dragging their feet through Riley's subconscious?
Or will it be a more dynamic force?
Yeah.
Like highlighting the restlessness that can sometimes accompany boredom.
Interesting.
Right. So many possibilities.
So many questions.
I know, and it just speaks to the creativity and ingenuity of Pixar's storytelling.
They don't shy away from challenging.
They really don't.
They lean into them, and they always manage to find a way to surprise and delight us.
It's true, and let's not forget the humor.
Yes.
Even when dealing with these heavy themes,
Yeah.
Pixar always has that knack for injecting those moments of levity and laughter.
It's true. So I'm curious, what kind of comedic situations are going to arise from these interactions
Oh yeah,
between these new emotions and the existing ones?
it's going to be a fun dynamic to watch unfold.
It really is.
Right, so it's about finding that balance, exploring those complex emotions without losing the heart and the humor that makes Pixar films so universally appealing.
Absolutely. It's a delicate dance,
It is.
but one that Pixar has mastered time and time again.
They really have.
Yeah.
Well, based on this review, it sounds like they're off to a good start with Inside Out 2.
It seems that way.
They've piqued our curiosity.
For sure.
They've got us thinking about our own emotional journeys,
Right.
and they've left us eager to see how this beloved world has evolved.
I couldn't agree more.
It seems like there's a deeper message here. It's more than just a cash grab.
Oh, yeah.
It goes back to that word that the reviewer used, necessary.
Right.
What makes the story so important right now?
That's a good question.
What's resonating so deeply with this reviewer?
It makes you think.
And potentially with us as viewers?
Well, I think it speaks to a certain cultural awareness,
Okay.
like a recognition that how we understand mental health, emotional well-being,
Yeah.
the complexities of growing up,
Right.
all of that has evolved
Yeah.
since the first Inside Out.
Significantly.
Right. Like we've leveled up
That's true.
in our emotional literacy.
We have a more nuanced understanding of these things than we
Yes.
did back then.
And with that increased awareness comes a need for stories that reflect.
Okay.
Stories that don't shy away from complex emotions like anxiety or envy,
Right.
but lean into them.
Okay.
Explore the nuances.
Interesting.
Challenge our preconceived notions.
It's about normalizing the full spectrum of human experience.
Exactly.
Not just the happy stuff.
And not just the easy stuff.
Right.
It's about showing that it's okay to not be okay.
It's so important.
And that even our most challenging emotions serve a purpose.
They do.
And that by understanding them, we can learn to navigate our inner worlds with more compassion and resilience.
Man, that's powerful. And it makes me think back to what you were saying earlier about the reviewers' excitement for this sequel to resonate with adults even more so than the original.
Right.
Interesting. Like maybe Inside Out 2 is Pixar's way of acknowledging that growing up doesn't mean we have it all figured out.
Exactly.
That adulthood comes with its own set of emotional hurdles.
Oh, it does.
And that those hurdles deserve to be explored with the same depth and sensitivity as any other life experience.
Right. It's not like you hit a certain age and then you're like, okay, I'm good now.
Right, like I've got all the answers.
I'm an adult now, I'm good.
Bring on the world.
I know how to handle everything.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
Life is a constant evolution.
And so are our emotions.
Exactly. I love that. And maybe by revisiting this familiar world of Inside Out.
By seeing Riley grapple with these new and complex emotions, we're given permission to do the same
Hey, that's a good point.
in our own lives.
It's like the film is holding up a mirror
Yeah.
to our own anxieties, our own insecurities, our own moments of envy or boredom. And it's saying, you're not alone in this.
That's powerful.
It really is.
A testament to the power of storytelling
Absolutely.
to connect with us on a deeply personal level.
It's true. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this sense of excitement
Yeah.
and anticipation for Inside Out 2.
Me too.
It feels like more than just a sequel.
Right.
It feels like a cultural touchstone.
Interesting.
Like this film is poised to spark new conversations.
I think so.
And challenge our perceptions of what it means to grow up and navigate all the complexities of being human.
I couldn't agree more.
It's a good reminder that our journeys are ongoing
They are.
and that there's always more to learn, more to explore.
Always more to uncover.
Yes, within the vast landscapes of our own inner worlds.
Beautifully said.
And that we're all in this together,
We are.
navigating the ups and downs of life.
One emotion at a time.
One emotion at a time.
Yeah.
I love that. So to our listener, as you dive into Inside Out 2,
Yes.
keep those questions in mind.
What resonates with you?
What new insights do you have about your own inner world?
Yes.
And how has your own emotional journey evolved since you first met joy, sadness, and the rest of the game?
Yeah, that is a deep dive worth taking.
It really is. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.